I am who I'm meant to be. I am who I'm meant to be. Over and out, over and out again.
Alright, so pretty much, we already got the intake off. It's right over there, but all these parts right here got to get installed. I'm looking for a place to put screws. That seems like a good spot. Piston rings, cam, head gasket. Got to hone everything, new hardware in there. And then this is what we're down to. I want to try to go through each step a little bit more this time around, but it's where we're at right now. Just got the intake off. Had to take out these bolts here. And that's about it for now. I'm taking this off right now. And yeah. Update. I'm going to get my light. Got the intake completely off now. Not too much more to do. That's the knock sensor, by the way, right there. That is the knock sensor. Under the starter is the cam sensor, which is where that other feed goes, right below the green wire. And I think I'm going to pull the cylinder head before I touch the underside, because I'm going to work on the underside tonight too. But we're pretty much almost done what I wanted to get done tonight. That really opens up the block with that intake off. I mean, you can see everything that's going on. Yeah, I'm going to pull off the water thing right now. Actually, I think I'm going to pull this neck off. Pull that off. And then call it a day there. So we got a little bit farther. As we can see, we got the power steering off, or the reservoir I should say. Next is going to be taking off that heat shield, that one bolt over there, and then we're going to pull the head. That's pretty much what's going down right now. I gotta take that off too, but I'm going to take the timing belt things off first before I touch that. So that's where we're at. Alright, so here we are. We got the cams out. I just got to pull off a little couple there. Cams are over here. The cam that I'm putting in is double the size of that cam. I don't really have light to show you, but I'll show you in comparison later that these cams are twice as big as them. And even just by looking at it, you can tell, whoo, that's going to add some power. That's as far as we got today. Because the idler pulley is under this plastic guard, and that means I gotta pull this whole motor mount off, and the wheel and the harmonic balancer, all the pulleys. I was really hoping to do the head first, bore out the cylinders, or rehome, my bad, and then put that all back together and be set, and then I can worry about the timing. But it looks like I'm gonna have to do it twice, which is not what I was looking forward to. Well, that's it for today. Hopefully tomorrow I get the pistons and whatnot done. I should be able to do it. It shouldn't be that hard. I got about 40 minutes left of work to do. So I'll do it then. I mean, why I got these out, I might show you the cam differences. I can't figure out where to put this. There we go. Look how much bigger the new camshaft is compared to the old one. Whoo! And the lobe on it is longer too. The duration, I guess you call it, how long it keeps the valve open, is a lot longer too. As you can see, this comes to like a point sooner, that one there, compared to that one. That one's more like a rounded edge, where this is pretty much a point. I wasn't even recording. So pretty much what we got going on is I got the head off now. There's cooling in there, which didn't happen last time. It was a little bit more difficult to get off this time around, but also I've only been working on it for 4 hours compared to 8 hours last time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull off the balance shaft, oil pan, and start pulling out the pistons. We got a little bit farther. In order to get this oil pan off, I had to take off the transmission bracket below. Yep. And right now my oil pan's stuck. So I gotta keep beating it until it comes off. And I already hit my thumb once. Oh, that hurt. So, yeah, that's pretty much the issue right now. As soon as it gets off, I'm pretty sure it's smooth sailing. I gotta cut the chain, pull out the balance shaft, pull out the pistons, and then should be starting to put it back together then. I mean, that's the last thing I need to do on this. I got new piston rings, so we're gonna do that. I got low compression, so, and cylinder 3 you can see has a little bit more wear than the rest. The lip on it is a little bit bigger. There's still cross stitching in it though, which I think is pretty weird. Like you can see the cross stitching in it. Usually like it's glazed up by now, but I want to get rid of this lip, even though they say that you shouldn't. I don't know. I think about it. Here we are. Finally got the oil pan out and figured out what it was. It was I forgot a bolt. One bolt. That's the dipstick. Here's the gasket. I didn't ruin it too much. I'm probably going to put some gasket seal on it. I'm reusing that gasket. Not recommended, but an oil pan gasket was a lot of money, and then I didn't feel like spending it. And if it bites me later on down in life, it's not that difficult to take off. I mean, it's a pain, but it's not like I have to disassemble the engine like I just did. Where's my oil pan bolts? Okay. And so we got to take out the balance shaft assembly. It's 25 pounds, so hopefully I can get it out by myself and it doesn't fall on me. Got to pull out the oil pickup tube down there, and what else? There's one more thing. We got to cut the chain. I'm probably going to do it with a Dremel tool. It's probably the easiest way. I'm not too worried about getting metal in there because I got to clean the engine block anyway. This is not a job for the engine in the car, but I don't have an engine hoist, and I find this to be easier. But yeah, that's where we're at. Alright, here's where we're at. We got one piston out. That means the balance shaft is out. Except the chain. I gotta still work on getting the chain off. But yeah. Bearings look pretty good. Actually, there's like hardly any wear on them. There is some scoring, but good for 170,000 miles. Because I'm pretty sure it was never done. Making sure that. Pretty sure it was never done on this car. The bores look pretty good. No damage in the bores or anything. So we're pretty much good. So I do have to hollow out the balance shaft wherever I put that. I think I put it out here. I do want to hollow it out. That means taking out the rollers in here, so it cleans up some weight. I think I got to take this side off. I'm going to work on that a little bit later. I got to clean up the oil pan. But yeah, there's the one piston, the old head. So pretty much, we might make schedule. I wanted to get this done today. It's 1 o'clock right now. We might still make schedule, because after I get the pistons all out, then that's when we start putting it back together. And putting it back together is usually faster than taking it apart for some reason on my car. Usually it's the opposite way around. Usually it's faster taking it apart and slower putting it back together, but my car, it likes to be the opposite. But yeah. Yeah, so pretty much, I'm hoping we can get it started today. If it's like 10 o'clock at night, I'm not going to start it up. I'll wait until the next morning, double check everything. If it's even like 9 o'clock at night, I might still wait. But if it's like 7, 8 o'clock, I'm going to start it up, break in the new piston rings. And actually, the one ring was stuck on the, it was stuck on the one side on the one piston that I just took out. So that could be a compression loss issue right there. But yeah, I don't want to waste too much more time. But I got to rotate it so I can get the next cap off. And I do have all new bearings, so I'm not worried about salvaging old ones. I got new ones to put in there, just not new rod bolts. But yeah, if I ever wanted to do the rod bolts, it's I can do them anytime because I don't have to take off the head to do rod bolts. So I can do them anytime whenever I get the money for the ARP rod bolts. But yeah, we're hopefully gonna make 230 horsepower within the next 2 days on a little 2.4 cylinder NA, naturally aspirated. We're not boosting it yet. Next year is when I'm going to boost it with the NA piston, so that's 10.5 compression ratio. I'm going to do 10 pounds of boost, and then that's when just because I want to get the turbo all set up and everything, make sure that's dialed in before I actually turn it over to a boosted car. And then that's when we're going to drop the compression ratio to 8.5. I got JE pistons that I want to put in there, connecting rods also, and then ARP bolts. But that's all next year. I want to get the ECU set up for it too. But yeah, it looks pretty empty in here with that head off. It really cleans up some room, especially when I take off like the air box and all that. I do want to move the battery up here for first fire up because I want to get it on the I want to be able to turn the engine over 2 times and fire up. In the back, first fire up usually is like 10 rollovers. So that's way too much to break in pistons. You can do it. I just don't want to take that risk. I want high compression. I don't want to have to do this again. Alright, here we are. We're getting ready to bore it out. Real fast. Crank spins easy, so I'm not going to do anything with that. I wasn't planning on. Note to self, next time, use something a lot softer to punch out pistons because I did damage the bearing groove. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see it there. So note to self next time, use something a lot softer. What else do I want to say? It doesn't really matter because the bearing goes in there anyway, and I'm putting Loctite in there, even though you don't really have to. It's just the way I'm doing it. And so right now we're getting ready to flex hone it, so I gotta do that real fast. Did the first 3. You can see a huge difference in the cylinders. Whoo! Whoo! And it took off that lip, which that lip made it hard for it to take off the piston. I'm probably gonna do the second one just a tad more, but that's a big difference right there. That's like silver, that's more like aluminum. So yeah, that's as far as I got right now. I gotta clean up a bit, but yeah, everything looks good. You don't have to go all the way down. Yeah, I'm probably gonna end up doing that one again, but yeah, you can see the difference. Like, it's a big difference there. Ooh, look at the cross stitching on these cylinders. Oh Lord, whoo! Came out real nice. So those rings are gonna seat very well. And that's that. Now, on YouTube videos, they don't really tell you, like, recommend the way to do it. To get the 45 degree that I was looking for in here as the cylinder hone, so I was going up and down pretty fast. No, you got to do it as fast as possible to get that 45 degree cross stitching your cylinders. And then I use the setting 1 on the drill, depending on, it's like a medium speed. But don't do it super fast, don't do it too super slow. But so I did 15, 15, 20, and 20 because these were the cylinders that had the most roughing grooved on it. And I went back and did it 5 more times on each cylinder in reverse. Now every time you go back and forth, if you got to do it more or less, you have to put it in reverse or forward depending on what you did last. That's the only way, because what you're doing is you're making everything go in the same direction and it's not going to seat well, and it's not going to give you that 45 degree cross stitch that you're looking for. So that's where we're at. I got to clean up the block quite a bit now, make sure nothing gets in the crank, and then we can start putting the pistons back in. It is now 2 hours later and we have gotten almost nothing done but piston rings. Okay, piston rings. That is a crucial part that I wanted to take my time with, because if you do them too tight, the clearances, what can happen is they can snap together, pop out, bust the whole piston open, engine block's done. So I had to spend quite a decent amount of time on them. All my cylinders are in check. Every single one of them are the same diameter. I went over it. So we should be ready to start popping in pistons. Well, first I got to put the rings back on. But then we can start dropping in pistons, do the bearings, and then hopefully what I took apart today I can put back together today, and then tomorrow I can finish up with like cams and whatnot, and then do the timing belt, which should only be another 2 hours. So did go over schedule for 2 hours, but what happened is that I had to take this motor mount off to get the head off, and that added the 2 hours right there. So, and the oil pan was giving me trouble, so I forgot that there was one more bolt in there. I should have checked it over. I already did check it over like twice, but I should have checked it over again. And so it's pretty much where we're at. I got everything cleaned out there too. All my pistons are nice and clean. I mean, I could have did a better job, but that's one piston there. And then these are the three others. And then the head, which I'm not worried about. It looks like it's going to rain, so it is starting to rain. Crap. Whatever, we can move everything inside. Let me just get the rings on, and then I can start popping them in. So I just got the first piston ready to go in, got the bearings on, got that on. I'm going to mark it real fast so I know what direction it goes on with. And I always put Loctite, whenever I did smaller engines, I always used Loctite on it just to make another insurance so you don't get bearing, so you don't spin a bearing. But yeah, that piston's all ready to get dropped in. I just got to mark how that is. They use, I think, a fracking technique to split the... so this is one piece originally, and then they use a fracking technique and they split it down. So this actually makes a tighter bond to your connecting rod and your rod cap. It's just something else I knew. So pretty much, I got 2 pistons in, cranked down to spec on the rod caps. Clearance is too tight. So right now I'm currently replacing this cap, the bearing with the old one, and then I got to do that one with the old one. I should have realized that with the first one being too tight, and then I was doing some research and clearance. So right now I just got to put this one on the connecting rod, and then the cap's already set to go on the old rod bearing, but at least it wasn't like I had to do the rod bearings. Actually, they look quite fine. So it's not like I was doing this to just to replace the rod bearings. It was actually just because I had the engine apart. But that's 20 bucks wasted on rod bearings now. And it's just disappointing that I did all this work now. I got to pull out pistons, and I'm already scratching up the hone. It shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it's just, you don't want to move these pistons that much when you just did a hone on it. So it's back to square one. Guess what? Pistons are done. Haha. About time. Jeez. Probably spent, realistically, I probably spent the last 4 hours working on them. It's now dark. I just remember when I was doing the rings, it was daytime, and I just got done the last one. Naturally, it might have been a little bit more. It might have been 5 hours I've been working solely just on pistons and piston rings. I consider that pistons also. Now to get the balance shaft assembly back in, which weighs like nothing now because I hollowed it out. And so that's ready to go back in. Yeah, this thing, probably like 5, maybe 8 pounds max. So that's ready to go in. Yeah, pickup tube goes on after. I'm going to bolt that thing back up so I can minimize oil going in there. Should I? Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. No, I can't. All right, what I'm debating on is capping off this section on this side, and I don't think I want to, just in case. Like it's like a pint of oil right there that can get trapped in there, and so I really don't want to do that. So that has to go on. Yeah, we're pretty much calling it a day pretty soon. I'm going to get the head on and then call it a day. I got to clean up this a little bit, so I put the head gasket on. But yeah, all that's getting done today. And then tomorrow, timing belt, install the intake and whatnot, 2-hour job, no problem. Yep. So dark, I didn't do anything up here yet. I was spending the last half hour putting on this oil pan. What I want to say here is literally everything's in the way of putting this oil pan back on. It was not that bad taking it off, but putting it back on, we had some issues. I don't have all the bolts in there. I'm working on that right now. Fighting with that for 30 minutes, jeez. It just seems like I've been fighting with everything right now. nothing's lining up like it should. But hopefully it's smooth sailing after this, because I know I did everything else before. So I do know the exhaust manifold's a pain, but other than that, everything's pretty decently accessible. Jeez, this thing was a pain. One of these days I want to go to a tube chassis, so this won't be like this after that and whatnot. I feel like this engine's too far this way, because I don't remember that ever hitting there before. But I don't know. Let me finish up here. I want to get the head on tonight, so that's coming up. Maybe cams, I'm not sure yet. I do have yep. I think I'm going to do cams tonight too. I think I'm going to try to get everything done head work wise, so I can just do the timing tomorrow. Less work tomorrow. I actually got to go somewhere tomorrow, so it's actually beneficial if I get more done tonight than less. So, it's in the right spot though, so I don't know. Let me get this head put on though. I'm tired. Actually, the fun part. Let me grab my light. I get to start installing new parts. So I got my MPX head over there, ported, oversized valves, the highest quality Brian Crowler springs, and titanium locks, I guess. No, retainers. Titanium retainers. That head is good for 1200 horsepower and up. I mean, geez. I mean, I can go with the DCR head. The only difference is that he uses 2mm oversized for the intake and 3 for the exhaust, and that head's also $3,500. So I am good on that. I spent $2 grand on this head. The cams, I'm hoping to get them in today. They're stage 3. Like I stated earlier, you can get the stage 4 from the 2.0, which I didn't know at the time. So I got stage 3, which is the biggest cams that you can buy from Crowler for the SRT4. And then I got the MPX cam gears to go with it. And I'm probably going to install the half the guard, because I got to have my power steering line come up and over it, and I don't want it to ever rub on the timing belt. So I'm probably going to keep it on there, but I do like the look of it off. So part way is good enough for me. It's not any different than what I had before. I was thinking about going with a DCR mid-motor mount. The only thing there, he doesn't have the upper support. I guess because you don't really need it, or the Neon doesn't have it. But yeah, I guess I can talk to someone to get custom made one, so it's actually a lot easier to pull out, but not too worried about it anymore, because this isn't even the hardest thing on this car anymore. It used to be, and then I took the oil pan off. I'm going to rate the oil pans probably number 1, the hardest thing on this. But yeah, pistons look nice and clean. Still got that cross stitching. Pretty much ready to install the head. I cleaned all this up, so I'm going to put the gasket on, and then we're going to start bolting it back together. There she is. Head. Whoo! Whoo! Exhaust and intake ported, with the oversized valves in there, titanium retainers. That puppy's about to go on here. Whoo! So, alright, so this is where we're at. Finally got the timing belt on with the gears, 75 foot-pounds they were torqued down to. Might have made it a little bit too tight. This one turns like 45 degrees. That's usually how tight I put it, though. I'm not too concerned about it. I had to do some clearancing here, because that bolt there was going to hit the motor mount, so I had to grind it down, as you can see. And that's pretty much all I did right now. I want to put the motor back down, get the motor mounts on. I think I'm going to do the upper mount just so it can tilt the engine, so I get the oil pan back on. I didn't tell you guys about that yet. I forgot to plug the oil feed for the bounce shaft. So that would have been bad. I probably would have had cylinder pressure for oil, but I don't think it would have made it up into the head entirely, since I already modified the oil flow to the cylinder head. So that's pretty much the deal there. Yep. Alright, I gotta get to it. These ports are huge. Hold on, wait a second. Take a look at those ports, okay? Look at this. Just the rivet there, okay? Where the fuel injector goes. Come over here now. Look at the rivet on that. That's what it was. And that's what it is now. Pressed the wrong button there. Yeah, so these ports are... you can tell the difference, though. I never thought I would, but yep. I mean, these are ported out. They're port matching. So... Let me get this motor on down. I gotta drop the oil pan again, plug that hole like I said. I gotta do a little I think I'm just gonna take the whole thing to Home Depot and find the bolt that goes in there, chop it off, and then chop off the tip. So I'm gonna get one that just has no threads on the end of it. Chop off the nut part, and then that's gonna jam up into the hole also. So it's gonna be like a groove slot also. So it's gonna work out perfect. Well, there it is. The reason why I had to take off my oil pan again. That little hole. We got to clog it up with something. I think it's a 1/4 inch. So we got to get a bolt. I think I already explained what I was the way that I was going to accomplish this. I was going to get a bolt with the edge not trimmed out so I could stick it in the hole also. Well, I mean, what are we going to be running? Oil pressurized 80 psi max. I think I can just jam it up with a screw and then put some gasket maker in it, which should work out just fine. I mean, I don't have an aftermarket pump or anything yet, so that should do it. And there we go. It's all filled up now with a piece of a screw that I took. It was, I don't know, nail maybe? This is the edge of it, whatever that is. And so there we go. It's all set to go back in the car. What time is it? Let's see. It is 2:07, so hopefully by 5 o'clock we got this thing fired up. We're going to set the piston rings and do all that good stuff. I got to change the oil again, so I got to put braking oil in, change the oil after the first startup. And then I got to put new oil in, and then after 500 miles I got to change that oil, and then after 1,000 I got to change it again, and then that should be good. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in, and hopefully I can fire it up pretty soon. Right now I'm just doing a little bit of cleaning up, but we are getting ready to fire this thing up in literally 10 minutes. Just got to do the battery, top off fluid still. Power steering, I totally forgot about that. Let me take that cap off just to remind me to do that. Yeah, I did break my dipstick thing on it. I think I got all the sensors plugged in now. So pretty much this thing's just about ready to get fired up. Yeah, like I said, I'm doing a little bit of cleaning before I fire it up too, because I want to be able to drive it right after. So I want to get it lowered and then I fire it up and whatnot. I'm not even going to hook up the catch can yet. Even though I should. Cylinder pressure is going to be a little high. I don't think I'm going to hook it up. I might hook up the tube, but that's about it. I'm not going to actually hook up the can. But that's pretty much it for now. Well, we're going to get this thing rolling. Alright guys, there's only one more thing to literally do, and that's connect the battery. Don't have her out here. I don't know if this is actually going to blow up.
Kyle! Is it?
I don't know. Alright, so the car's not in the garage anymore. There's car parts right there. And my car's over there. It's been about a day now. Because I broke the timing belt. Wherever it is. That's the new one. Oh, the old one's here too. See? Broken. And that tells me that I need a Gates racing belt, which is the blue one. I think they also make a black one too, or maybe that's a DCR only one. So I determined I need a heavy duty belt, but while I was driving around with this belt, about not even a mile, until it broke, the cams I have in there makes it pretty much undrivable, unless I had a aftermarket ECU. There's so much air that needs to bypass this, it actually causes low vacuum, and then that's when I would have to tune and whatnot. I only had the cams in factory location. I guess I could do some cam tuning, but it's not worth it right now. It's coming up on cold weather. I need the car to be driving, so factory cams are going back in. And we might do something with stage 1 or 2 later down the road. But people might say that the stage 3 was now a waste of money. That is not true, because I will need them one day when this is going to be a trailer only car. But for daily driving it, I don't think I want to have stage 3 in there. Literally, for me to get it in drive, I would have to like quickly stay on the throttle, bring my left foot onto the brake so I could switch it real fast without fluctuating RPM, and then I would have to compensate the power loss of going in gear and whatnot. But other than that, I'm working right now on putting this new belt on. It's going on tomorrow and should take, I don't know. Well, I got to change out the gear, cams and everything, so maybe 2 hours max. I mean, it wasn't that big. Bigger things could have happened to the engine than a timing belt. So at the same point, it's a pain. I wish it just would have worked, but a lot more things could have went wrong with everything I did to it. So I'm glad it was just the timing belt. And I haven't really driven the car yet, so I don't know how the other supporting mods is. I couldn't even get above like 3,000 RPMs when I tried to stomp on it, because I was up to operating temperatures now. When I tried to stomp on it, it backfired like crazy and broke the timing belt. So actually, I think the timing belt broke before it backfired, because what I'm assuming is one of the exhaust valves got stuck open. That's when the timing belt broke and it shot them right out the tailpipe. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't see any bent valves. I looked in my cylinder head. Don't see any bent valves. That doesn't mean there is. I will check that with a compression test once I finish the braking period of my engine. Then I got to disassemble, just take off the intake pretty much and do a compression test, see where we're at. If we're over 140, that's golden. As long as we improve the compression of the engine, that's all I wanted to do. I did find out why third cylinder was messed up. Third cylinder was messed up. One of the piston rings, I don't know if it was quite broken yet, but what it was is it was like compressed in the piston. It wasn't actually making surface contact with the piston or the cylinder wall. So that would have had to been done anyway. One piston or compression ring was, but the other one wasn't, and this was the secondary. So that explains why I still had 90 psi and why it was consistent. But I think farther down the road, the more I drove it, it would have became an issue. But hopefully I can get 140 compression out of the car. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at now. But yeah, so I wasted no time to get in the new part. I do have a 1-year warranty with this. If I break this one, then I'm taking it back and I get a new one. I haven't explained why I think it broke. So I'm thinking the reason why they make the heavy duty racing belt is for big cams like what I would be running. And it takes more force to open up the valve more lift on the valve, because as you compress the spring more, the feedback is greater. So as I was saying about lifter and the actuation force to push down the spring and retract back, I feel like is a lot greater than the factory one, because they are aftermarket springs. They are the BC Brian Crowler's aftermarket springs and retainers, titanium retainers, and I want to say titanium valves also with it. So I think that could also be the result of the timing belt breaking, because where it broke on the timing belt, I mean, why else would a timing belt break? But where it broke on the timing belt was after it made it around the cam, which is when it's pulling it down back to the crank. It broke right there, right after the water pump. And that's my determination that the force to spin the cams over is too great. So we're going factory cams again. I'm going to update you guys when the car is running. I'm not going to go through this process again because you guys already seen that. You already saw me take off the head, put on the head, whatnot. No reason of going through that process again because it's the same process. So I update you guys then.